there, I'm Big Alias, and we have done it. We've done it. We've made it to the end of this series, the ridiculous little series that I've made here. It's been a lot of fun. I've had a very good time with this series. I mean, we've covered Reach 1, 2, 3, ODST 4 and 5 now. Now we've come to the end. What a perfect way to round it off with Infinite. Basically, this whole hit series started because I wanted to revisit Infinite, and I thought, well, why not do all of the games, while I'm at it? But the ironic thing is that actually this is probably the most sort of tumultuous and confusing game of the bunch. This is the hardest one to review of any of the Halo games, and that's because, well, obviously, is because this game was different every single year. This game was constantly different. And it's the first game in the series that is a live service game, meaning that the game that you get at the start is not the game that you get at the quote-unquote end. Now, I think that we have finally reached the end. Now that the game, I think, has actually fully launched. So much so that they actually just released a new trailer, as if to say, okay, here it is. It's finally done. The game's done now. And it really is. It's very, very good. And I know there's a lot of naysayers, a lot of people who will say that I'm wrong and say that this game is bad. And there was a time when it was bad. And so I think, the best way to approach this, I think personally, is to review the game that is now. And the reason for that is because I reviewed the game when it initially came out. I loved it. And then I had a lot of issues, and now we're going to close that book. But like I said, a lot of people will disagree and say that this is bad, that this game is bad. But I want you to really consider this package. Consider what we have here and what we were given and how good what we have is. Beginning with the campaign. Let's start with the campaign, which was, and I said this from the start, I said it even when I was mad at the game and mad at 343, this game has a tremendous campaign. It is a fantastic campaign. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. The Forerunner sections in this game, I think they nailed the design. It's a great blend of old and new. Overall, the whole art style is a great blend of old and new, but these environments, they really nailed those. And the world itself is just filled to the brim with like intrigue and mystery and these little moments here and there. We haven't seen mystery and intrigue like this since CE. We haven't seen an open world like this since ODST. And marrying those little bits together, I think, worked tremendously well. Would I like to see another open world Halo game? I don't think so. I've seen what game developers can do with modern tech now, and I'd rather see another linear game, but just one that is absolutely stunning to look at. But that being said, I'm glad that we got this. I'm so glad we got this experience because I got to bump into a Forerunner structure and explore it and feel the soundtrack change and the environment change. And it was very tremendously well done. And then when we got co-op, I mean, personally speaking, I have to admit I haven't actually tried co-op, but I can only imagine that was an excellent experience too. I'm still not a huge fan of the hexagon things. I'm sorry, it just never did it for me. But aside from that, I love the open world here. I love the level design in the missions. It really uses these new skills, the grappling hook and what have you, tremendously well. The grappling hook is obviously the star of the show here in terms of gameplay, and the level design really facilitates that. And the fact that you can upgrade it, I thought that was really great. I was surprised that you could upgrade them, and it was a pleasant surprise. Eventually, you can get it to electrocute an enemy when it tags onto them, and you can shoot towards the enemy and stuff like that. The soundtrack was exceptional. Unbelievably phenomenal. Up there with the Marty O'Donnell, Michael Salvatore soundtracks. It just full to the brim with these gorgeous, beautiful little piano notes scattered around and giant sections and operatic songs and what have you. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Really nailed the soundtrack. And the story is great. Do I think it's the best Halo story? No, I thought it was a little bit too intimate for me. I wasn't a huge... I like the fact that they did the God of War sort of single take thing, but I do think that it just wasn't particularly necessary and sort of narrowed things in a bit. But aside from that, I did like the story. It was the first 343 story that I actually liked. I didn't like 4, I didn't like 5 in terms of story, but I liked Infinite's story. That being said, it was a bit too open-ended, but as a whole, the campaign was just fantastic. A lot of people say there was no big moment that you remember. For me, it's barreling down. You barrel down like this canyony bit in a Scorpion tank, and the Halo soundtrack crescendos and gets louder, and it was an excellent moment in the campaign. And so it does have one, in my opinion. In fact, I think it has several, and the boss battles were fun too. Oh, the pit! There you go. I'm in your pit. Wow. But of course, it's the multiplayer. The multiplayer was the part that really threw us off and made things tough, because I think it was more frustrating because it was wasted potential. The gameplay in this game is exceptionally good. Very, very good. And again, I said this from the start, the two things that I think they absolutely nailed were the gameplay and the art style. And of course the soundtrack, but I mean in terms of how the game is to play. They nailed gameplay, they nailed art style, and the way that it's little tiny aspects, like the sprint, but the sprint is very slow. However, if you use parkour correctly, if you use sliding or mantling correctly, then you can make it faster. So you can have the edge by making it faster and being a master of the movement in this game. And I think that's very good, because you have two options to play within the same sandbox. You can either play this slowly like an original Halo game, or you can play faster. And the maps facilitate both playstyles, because they facilitate faster movement well without it feeling as though you're zipping across the map in a fraction of a second. And of course, at the same time, they're not tiny, so you don't feel as though in this little tiny space purely for the sake of facilitating, not using advanced movement. You don't get that sense. Everything works here, and the maps themselves are great. The base maps were very good, which is why it feels like wasted potential, because we just didn't get enough of them. The game itself didn't launch with very many maps, and then they just didn't bother feeding this live service. To this day, it will forever be one of the greatest gaming mysteries of all time, is why 343 just didn't put the effort in and didn't add things when they could have, and they could have really kept this game alive. No one, I think, will ever fully understand. All I will say is that after Bonnie Ross and a bunch of other, high-ups and suits left 343, things got way better. So in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I think they were holding back intentionally, because they thought that it would keep people on the edge of their seat, just waiting for more, without realizing that, you can tease people for too long and eventually they're just going to drop off. And that's what happened. The player base absolutely fell off the edge of a cliff when season 2 finally did drop, because it's like, well, no one cares. You haven't given us anything, you haven't fed us nearly enough, of course we're going to leave for another game. So it sucks, right? Well, no, because eventually it was hugely redeemed. When all of these suits left, it got a new lease of life, a new burst of life, and it got really, really good, because we still had the excellent gameplay and the fantastic art style. We then got Forge. They finally threw Forge at us. They threw it to the ground like scraps, but it's the best Forge. I mean, it is the best Forge in the history of Halo, and that's objectively the case. Tons of canvases, more materials to play with than ever, a huge budget, and also you can spawn in AI. You can make your own missions in Forge. That's absolutely insane, dude. That is crazy. And they did the two things that I begged them to do when I was complaining about 343. Two things, which is they introduced a rank and they put Forge maps in matchmaking. And it did exactly what I said it would do. Introducing the rank kept people coming back, so that they actually had a reason to come back to the game, because mind-blowingly the game didn't have ranking when it first launched. And with matchmaking, with Forge maps and matchmaking, that kept the variety up. They didn't have to keep making new maps. They didn't have to keep battling this engine. They just let the community do it. It's not much more effort for them. You can get one guy to pass through that, curate it, and put it onto the database, and bam, there you have it. You have a whole new map, and at a very, very slight fraction of a cost. It works for everyone, and that is eventually what happened. You go into that game now, and my god, you never know what map you're going to end up on. You can end up on a Asian themed version of the pit.
I finna be in the pit.
Or you could end up on, I don't know, a spaceship with zero gravity sections. There's tons. There's so much content in this game, and that's not to mention the fact that they then added Firefight. So this game eventually got Firefight, something people have been begging for. Now, the implementation initially I thought was slightly odd, but I grew to like it, actually. I do like this implementation of Firefight. Maybe it's just because matchmaking suits me better than co-op, personally speaking. But it's good, and it's a lot of fun, and you get to use that excellent gameplay and the fantastic sandbox that is involved in this game, which it has. There's just so much to do here. It's such an abundance of content, so much going on. And now that the live service is in full throttle, it's ever changing. There's always something new going on, some kind of event, the Yappening, or something to celebrate a new theming where they mix up the maps in some way, sort of Christmas events and what have you. There is always something to do in this game now, and the ranking goes sky high as well, so you could be doing that for years. It is a tremendous package now. How many times am I going to say that? That's what she said. No, it's a really, really excellent package, this. The campaign's tremendous. The multiplayer is bursting with content, with excellent gameplay and a fantastic art style. I just think there's so much going on here. They really did redeem this game. How they did it is a conversation for a different day, but let's just say they threw the shit off the off the ship, and now it's sailing a lot smoother. It's a hell of a game. Do I think it's the best Halo game? No. Do I think it's Bungie good? No. But it's not far off. So I guess it's time to give it a score. So that's the score. Yes, it may seem far too high, but look back at everything I've told you. There's a lot here, and it's all good. So why wouldn't it be that high? So I just want to thank everyone for joining me on this journey. It's been a lot of fun. This has really been a bucket list moment for me because I've always wanted to make a series on this channel, and I've made so many attempts to make a series on this channel, and I always lose steam for it. And it would have to be the Halo series that does it, but I've successfully made an episode every week and launched an episode every Wednesday at 10 o'clock. And you've kind of been eating it up. This series has done very well, actually, and I'm happy with it. I really am happy with this series. So before I go, I just want to compile all of the scores that I've given each Halo game. I'm going to do a nice little video there, and then we're going to end things. So again, thank you for joining me on this journey. It's been a lot of fun. I don't know what I'm going to do next, but this has been very fun. So thanks for watching all of these, and I will see everyone later.
The PlayStation's only $149, and you can also get leading titles.